Um, on Thursday, I think we're going to just do something really simple. He asked me what the perfect date was, and I was like, I'm not going to answer that. I said, I'm not giving you, it's my trauma speaking. I'm not giving you the blueprint and tell you what I want. What would you say the perfect first date is? And he actually responded with something that was really, really chill and really cool. And I'm looking forward to it. And we have a really good dialogue going on. Now, not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm out here just appreciating being a woman and attracting the energy that I'm putting out and getting that back. And so that is also going on in my life. And what else? Oh, I've relaunched the reboot. I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. But I also host restorative women's retreats. I try. Have you ever looked at a photo of yourself smiling and was immediately reminded of that moment in time? The pain, the past, the pressure you endured? It's been said a photo holds 1,000 words, but can we fearlessly tell the truth and courageously open our heart vault of vulnerability to share those words? I'm your host, Takia LaShawn. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What is up? Listen, it has been a few weeks since I have recorded a episode of my own. I have been busy. I wanted to jump on and plug at least another episode in so that I didn't leave you guys hanging. I know the last episode I recorded was a part one. It went on and on. And I mean, I applaud any of you listeners if you finished it. I really probably should have broken it up into bite-sized pieces, but it was not planned that morning that I walked into my prayer closet / recording studio. And I just felt led to go ahead and release and talk about what I'd actually endured in the marriage. And it ended up being almost 3 hours. 3 hours. Like, can you imagine being my therapist? Like, really? But that was my first time really talking about the marriage in detail. And I'm not done, obviously, because there was a part one. And like I said, that wasn't even supposed to be a part one. I thought I was just going to get all the story out, but that was what I got out. And I just decided to not even chop it up and just leave it as is. And I figured if it intrigued you or caught your attention, then you would push through and listen to it or go back whenever you needed to. So moving forward, I do plan to continue with the part two. I'm not going to leave you all hanging, but this is not going to be about that right now. I just wanted to do a check-in and I wanted to switch lanes and be a little more lighthearted and uplifting and encouraging and just let you all in on a little bit of my personal life in the midst of this. And a really, really dear and near close friend of mine, she recommended that. And I'm going to take her advice because I have been, the beauty and the blessing in releasing my podcast is I am getting a tremendous amount of traction for requests to be a guest on others' podcasts. And so to that end, I am taking up and doing that. I actually just finished. I did 5 interviews today. I don't know if that's common in the podcast world to book up your day with podcasts like that. It wasn't bad, but I don't think I'll do it again. And then my day is like that tomorrow where I think I have 4 or 5 interviews to sit on. And so I just finished out my last one and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was so amazing. It was so uplifting and just such a kindred and like-minded spirit. And because I'm already in the studio, I said, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and let my people hear my voice on Behind This Smile. So today, what I want to talk about behind this smile is how I've been doing since I recorded that last episode about the marriage. I will tell you, I did not realize immediately after the fact that I was triggered. And even though I talked about it, I'm very open, I'm very transparent, I'm very vulnerable, I'm very authentic. I talked about it, but then a few days after talking about it, I actually had to fly out to Georgia as a panelist at a women's conference, and I facilitated that. And of course, I talked about my story more. And then I flew back home, and I got home, and I was on this high of, yeah, I talked about that part of my life, and I went to this women's conference, and the atmosphere was so God charged, and I was among like-minded women. And then I got home and I started battling slipping into depression. And I could not for the life of me figure out why. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I literally mentally was running through my brain. Like, what did I do? What is going on? What triggered me? And it was finally probably about 2 or 3 days into it that the Lord spoke to me and revealed to me, reminded me, you did just do an episode where you released a lot, Takia. And while this is my podcast and you all are sitting and listening, this is my real life. And I'm very much still in the midst of that healing journey. And talking about it, while it just comes out and it flows, it does a lot of things to the psyche, to the body, to the senses. And it was impacting me. And also, I've been sitting, like I said, on quite a few podcasts and speaking as a guest. And so talking is exhausting. It's exhausting. It can be draining, just like driving. If you get on a road trip, you're literally I say literally a lot. You're physically sitting there and the body is doing nothing, but it is doing something. You understand? Your senses, all of your senses are alert. You're having to use your sight and sound, and you're having to pay attention to the road, and you're having to pay attention to everybody else on the road. And even though you're physically sitting still, it's still exhausting. And so talking is the same way. And so God revealed to me, you're revisiting all of this stuff. You're rehashing it all up. You're opening up those things. And it's like going into Pandora's box and you're pulling that stuff out of there. And so it's good because it's a part of my healing journey. I've always felt like you have to go through it to get. Sometimes people will ask, how you doing? Or this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm going through. And the blessing is when you go through something, you do come out on the other side as long as you keep walking or driving or doing whatever it takes to get through it. So for instance, like a tunnel, when I do this road trip in particular, going from Tennessee to South Carolina, Georgia, there's these 2 tunnels. I love them. I love driving through tunnels. And when I get in those tunnels, I tend to speed. I like it. I like hugging the curves in the tunnel, but I know there's a starting point and there's an ending point. And in order for me to get to the other side of the tunnel, I've got to go through it. It's through the mountains, which the drive in itself is even more beautiful. So in this healing process, in this healing journey, my going through to get to the other side, to the promised land of my healing, the process in this is going through it. And going through it, I'm picking up and pulling out and dealing with stuff. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop in the middle of that tunnel, in the middle of that process. I'm going to get to the other side. And so I realized that that's what's going on. You're going through this stuff again, and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and it's impacting me physically because psychologically, all these sirens and emotions and just different hormones and things are going off internally. and it's impacting and affecting my body. And so I really dealt with, I didn't slip, and I know myself. Some years ago, I started therapy. And when I was told that I deal with, the diagnosis was actually severe depression. I've talked about this, extreme PTSD and severe depression because of the trauma that I've endured in my life. I've learned to recognize depression when it attempts to rear up. And in learning that, I've learned to combat it and control it almost by averting my attention and my efforts to something else. And I can pretty much pull myself out of that before it happens. And this battle was just confusing me because I was like, well, nobody did anything. Nobody said anything. I'm checking all the boxes and running through my brain. And then again, like I said, God laid it on. Well, you are going through this stuff. And the beauty in it is I'm not going to stop because I have to go through it to get to the other side. And I'm going to get my healing. You're going to get your healing. We're going to get our healing. One testimony, one story, sharing behind one smile at a time. And so right now I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really enjoying this journey. I'm really enjoying this process. I'm really enjoying the beauty of this season. I'm really enjoying speaking and sitting on the podcast. And I actually have learned a little trick too that, while I love recording my podcast episodes, if I sit on everybody else's podcast episodes, they do all the editing and then they share it and I just promote it. And so that helps me out because I'm really just not there yet. I've tried to do, the video podcasting and edit. I just don't have time for that. And when I say I don't have time, I actually have all the time in the world because God has me in a season where I'm sitting still and I'm literally, there's that word again, I'm really not doing anything, but I am doing something. And right now the something is taking care of Takia. I'm healing. My journey right now on 2 of the podcast episodes that I was a guest on today, I was asked the question, how are you taking care of yourself? What does self-care look like for you? And it was so easy to answer that because self-care for me right now is I'm learning to lean in and listen to my body. No longer and gone are the days where I push through and I fight to do something that triggers me. I listen to my body and I lean into that. And if I need to rest, I rest. And in rest, wrapped up in that word rest, it may be I may sleep. I may just sit on the couch and flip the remote and watch TV all day. It may be something my therapist told me a while ago. And actually, I caught a hold of that really well because it's showing in my belly and my body. She was like, if you want to eat you a pint of ice cream, you do. And I do. But I'm just learning to not fall into my old habits and coping mechanisms of what my trauma told me I needed to do. For instance, I learned about myself. My coping mechanisms are keeping busy. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a very successful entrepreneur. All glory to God. In entrepreneurship, however, before I realized that it was a coping mechanism, I would keep busy so that I have to sit with myself and I have to deal with the feelings and the emotions, or so that I didn't slide or slip into depression or anxiety or anything like that. So I would just keep busy. And anything that I was dealing with that was a source of pain, I turned it into purpose because I wanted to help somebody else to not go through that. So I built businesses and brands based off the pain that I was experiencing so I didn't have to face it or deal with it. The positive in that is successful entrepreneurship, inspiring, helping people overcome, surviving, and thriving. But the negative is I wasn't taking care of Takia. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't facing what I was dealing with. I didn't want to sit with myself, and I was just ignoring that and keeping busy. Now, baby, I sit with myself more than I really want to. Okay? I sit with myself. I lean into that and I process every bit of those emotions. And listen, I never knew that one person could experience so many emotions in the midst of a moment of time. So for instance, this morning, I got up, I said I was going to get my day started. I knew that I have 5 episodes that I had to sit on as a guest. I got my hair done. I did my makeup. And then I put some worship music on, and then instantly the waterworks, and I'm praising and worshiping God. That's just who I am. But in the midst of that praise and worship, now I have this wounded cry. There's a difference between a worshipful cry and you're just grateful and you're just praising God. And then there's a wounded cry because you're like, thank you for what you brought me through. And that wounded cry is like, but I'm still in the midst of it, and just I'm snotty and I'm ugly. And then I went from that wounded cry to this praising and thanking and glorifying and laughing and clapping and jumping up and down and telling God, I thank you for what you brought me through. God, I thank you for how you delivered my son. I thank you how you blessed my daughter. And, and it's just a plethora of emotions. And that was just my moment in worship. But even in that, it's not always in that. I can be on the phone with a friend and a thought or a memory comes up and I'm triggered and I'm either angry or I'm crying or I'm laughing or I'm frustrated. And I'm just realizing and recognizing this is my healing process. Healing to get to the other side, to go through so I can get to the past tense of healed. Okay. And who knows how long that process will take? Only God, but I am going to continue to push through. So that's one of the things that I've been doing, sitting on podcasts, speaking on platforms and stages, learning more about myself and, sitting with myself. And sitting with myself actually to me means sitting with God and allowing God to show you who he is through who you are. And that's beautiful. And then here, sit down for this one. I have dipped my toes. I'm back into dating. Now, I know you're like, girl, we just listened to a 3-part series on stalking, and you just did a 3-hour sesh on talking about the marriage that didn't make any sense, and we don't even have the rest of the tea. It's coming, trust me. But even with all of that, please understand, I have been solidly single since December of 2021. Okay. So it's 2024. I want to get back out. I want to live again. I deserve love. I deserve laughter. I deserve enjoyment. And I will tell you, I am not in any rush, the L word. I'm not in any rush for that. I'm not deterred in one bit by what I have endured. So I still believe in love. I still believe in marriage. I still want all of that. And to get to that, I do have to get out there. So now, do I have trust issues? 157% because of the stalking and the history there. And, but I also am just in this space, in this place of, I want to enjoy life. I am a woman. I'm a beautiful woman. I travel. I live a good life. I've worked hard for myself. I want to enjoy that with someone, whether it's friendship and friendship goes somewhere else. So I have dipped my toes into dating, and I've only gone on one date. It was actually pretty good. We're not compatible, and that's okay. We agreed to disagree. But he was very respectful, and it was very out of the box for what I'm used to, but he was a nice guy. But I'm also telling myself, girl, don't you entertain nobody longer than you need to. Be honest up front and cut it off. And that's what I did. And so more or less, it's just me on some of these dating apps. And let me tell you, it's really more entertaining than anything else. I think I get a fix when I get on there and there's all these guys, inboxing, you're so beautiful. How can I talk to you? Blah, 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 blah. And the ones that get my attention, they say some wild stuff. And I'm like, these men, is this really what dating is like out here in these streets? Like, this is, ugh. And so I'm doing that right now. And I actually have a date coming up Thursday. And it's actually, this is again out of the box. And I will tell you, let's talk a little bit more about my dating life and where I'm going with that. So my date this Thursday is with a gentleman who is actually Ukrainian. He's from the Ukraine. And I have dated other cultures twice. High school, I dated a guy from France. And a few years ago, I dated a guy from the Caribbean, from St. Lucia. I don't know, why'd my accent kick in, the Caribbean? Horrible accent. But never, you know, this far and wide. And I'm really excited about that because I have this personal theory on dating. And I said there's a certain type of individual that I am not close to, but I am going to shift my attention from so that I can see what else the world has to offer, because I've learned and realized that because of cultural barriers, I just want to see what other cultures are like. I want to see how they were raised and how they view women, and just get a different history and background. So I'm looking forward to that. On Thursday, I think we're going to just do something really simple. He asked me what the perfect date was, and I was like, I'm not going to answer that. I said, I'm not giving you, it's my trauma speaking. I'm not giving you the blueprint and tell you what I want. What would you say the perfect first date is? And he actually responded with something that was really, really chill and really cool. And I'm looking forward to it. And we have a really good dialogue going on. Now, not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm out here just appreciating being a woman and attracting the energy that I'm putting out and getting that back. And so that is also going on in my life. And what else? Oh, I've relaunched the reboot. I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. But I also host restorative women's retreats. I travel a lot, and in my travels, I will do my reels and post my content. And so people see that, and people are always asking, where you at? Where you going? What you doing? I'd love to go. So in doing that, I started inviting people. I started putting together travel groups. And so I put that all on the back burner and on pause for a little bit because, it's being stalled. And now that I am finding myself again, I am finding pleasure in those things that bring me life and vibrancy. And so I relaunched that, and I have a trip planned to go to Puerto Rico coming up. I just got back off the road this past weekend. I am going out of town again this weekend to celebrate my sister's birthday on a girls trip. We've got this amazing place in the mountains. And so just looking forward to that and just getting with my girlfriends and just having a good time and us just enjoying life. And where else? What else? Just a few trips on the book. I'm going to do a vision leadership conference for women that know that they have a global calling and just making some connections. So I said all that to say that I am really excited because I am finding the vibrancy in my life again, because it has been really, really dark. As you can listen in on the podcast, and I know that me talking, you hear the excitement, you hear the joy, we see the smile, but I take you behind this smile. And I probably wear it well, the weight of the things that I've endured, but life has not been easy. There's still very much that battle with, even after I came back, I said I felt like I was slipping into depression. I started having dreams and thoughts of suicide again, and I had to get that under control and cast that stuff out and bind it and just put the enemy in his place. But that's still very much a part of my healing process and journey. But I am also finding the spark and the light and the passion and the zeal for life again. And so I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up at. I didn't want this to be very long. I just wanted to get on and just give you guys an update. And I will say this, I'm also evolving. This podcast is evolving. When God told me, tell people what goes on behind this smile, and he led me to do a podcast, I knew that he was going to have me talk, but I just did it in obedience. I didn't know the fullness of what it was going to be, and I still don't know what it's going to become. He has a plan, and I'll follow that. But I am evolving. This is going to evolve into a book titled Behind This Smile. And so as you listen to the episodes, please know that this podcast is first and foremost, it's for me. It's for you, 100% for you, but it's also for me. And what that means is God is showing me to do this in my time, in my way, and to share my stories in a manner that I can compile it so that when it's done, there's a book deal in tow for this. Okay. So all those ears out there listening that catch wind of this, book deal, reach out to me. That's what this is going to evolve into. So you're basically listening to the chapters of my life in audio version. And so it may jump from one topic to the other. I'm not going to try to make it make sense. It will once it's all done. But I just come into my prayer closet, which is my recording studio, and I let God lead me, and I talk when I feel released to talk. So even in the beginning, I thought I would release every 2 weeks. We see that I'm failing beautifully at that, but I will not fail to continue to come on consistently. And so just stay tuned in. Make sure you follow Behind This Smile on Apple and Spotify and YouTube and every platform, streaming platform, so that you can stay updated when I launch and release a new episode. And you can also continue to find me at my social handle, Your Smile is Your Weapon. Okay. Linktree.com. Your smile is your weapon. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Your smile is your weapon. Thanks so much for listening in. I just wanted to let you know what's been going on lately behind this smile. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. Please help me to continue to spread the message of hope, encouragement, and inspiration by sharing my podcast with your friends, family, loved ones, and complete strangers. Someone needs to hear what has been said today. Like, follow, share, subscribe, and download on all platforms for Behind This Smile with Takia LaShawn.